Hello and welcome students. We are into the sixth video lecture of the video lecture series made on the subject of renewable energy technology whose subject code is ME409, and the topic that I am going to teach you or discuss with you or we will have a learning is solar radiation measurement. Since we have started the topic of solar energy, and in solar energy I have taught you about the basics of solar energy, like the types of radiation, global radiations, direct radiations, diffuse radiations. Then after all the basics related to solar energy, why it is important, advantages of solar energy, how we can harness it, what are the two ways of harnessing the solar energy, we have discussed. But more so, we should also have the knowledge of the instruments which are used for the measurement of solar radiation. So we are going to discuss those measurements, those measuring instruments which are used to measure the solar radiations. Alright, as far as I am concerned, I am Shri Krishna Mishra, Assistant Professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur. So without wasting any time, first of all, let's see what are the lecture objectives of today's lecture. So these are the objectives of today's lecture. First objective is what? First objective is we are going to know about the different types of solar radiation measuring instruments. So names of the measuring instruments which are used to measure the solar radiations, we are going to first of all see them. Then one by one we are going to discuss about each of those measuring instruments. Among those, the first one will be your pyranometer. So our second objective is what? We are going to know about the pyranometer. Then we are going to understand about pyrheliometer, the second measuring instrument. And then lastly we are going to understand about the sunshine recorder. So this is our pattern in which we are going to follow, and these are our lecture objectives. Now let's move into our today's lecture. Solar energy, as you all know, it is an important, clean and cheap, abundantly available renewable energy. Alright, since as we all know that it is abundantly available, solar energy is available everywhere. Alright, and it is received on earth in cyclic, intermittent and dilute form. The problem is that it is received on earth in dilute form, means the density is not high. It is very low power density of 0 to 1 kilowatt per meter square. So solar energy received on the ground level is affected by atmospheric clarity, degree of latitude, etc. These are the different factors on which the solar energy which is received on the ground surface is affected. Now for design purpose, the variation of available solar energy, the optimum tilt angle of solar flat plate collectors, location and orientation of heliostats should be calculated. So there are various type of calculations also which are to be done in order to estimate, in order to make the use of solar energy for our applications. Since it is known to us that the energy density or the density of the power density, or we can say the power density of solar energy is very less. So the solar energy which is available to us, comes on the earth, is in very dilute form, near about the power density between 0 to 1 kilowatt per meter square. So you can see that solar energy, though it is cheap, it is clean, and it is abundantly available, it is a big source of solar energy, renewable energy. Still, it is in dilute form. Therefore, we will have to first of all see what is the tilt angle in which the solar plate collector should be kept in order to get the maximum advantage of solar energy. Now, coming into the unit of solar energy, in SI units, we all know energy is expressed in joules. Now, other units are Angle and calorie. Now, if you want to convert calorie into joules, we all know 1 calorie is equal to 4.2 joules. Now, for our solar energy calculations, the energy is measured as NF hourly, or for solar energy calculation, energy is measured as an hourly or monthly or yearly average, and is expressed in terms of kilojoule per meter square or kilojoule per meter square per hour. All right, energy is measured as an hourly or monthly or yearly average, and it is expressed in terms of kilowatt per meter square per day or kilowatt per meter square per hour. Solar energy is expressed in terms of kilowatt per meter square or kilowatt per meter square. So solar power, if you want to express solar power, so solar power is expressed always in terms of watt per meter square or kilowatt per meter square. So for solar energy calculation, now coming into essential subsystems in a solar energy plant. First is, what are the subsystems of a solar energy plant? First, you will need a solar collector or concentrator. The reason is that, as I have told to you, that we receive energy, we receive the solar energy on the Earth's surface in very dilute form, and the density is less. So, in order to trap the solar energy, what we do, we use some collectors which are used to trap the solar energy. That collector works as the atmosphere around us, which allow the infrared radiation to enter inside Earth, but does not allow it to go outside the collector. So it is basically a glass plate. It can either be a flat shaped glass plate, it can be of paraboloidal shape, it can be of a paraboloid dish shape, or it can be Fresnel lens with central focusing. So these are the different type of collectors. There is also heliostats with center receiver focusing. So these are different types of solar collectors. Basically, its purpose is to receive solar rays and collect the solar energy. It's basically the purpose is to receive the solar rays and collect the solar energy. It may be of following types. As I have told to you, collectors are of various types like flat plate, parabolic, trough, paraboloidal dish with central focusing, then Fresnel lens with center focusing, and the heliostat. The second we need for a solar energy plant is your energy transport medium. Now, energy transport medium means what? Means we always need some fluid, either water or air, so that which can be used to transfer energy from one portion to other. Means energy transport medium we need. Substance such as water, steam, liquid metal or gas are used to transport the thermal energy from the collector to the heat exchanger or thermal storage. In solar photovoltaic systems, energy transport occurs in electrical form. All right, energy transport in case of solar photovoltaic systems occurs in electrical form. The third is you will need an energy storage device. The third will you will need that whatever energy which is you are creating, which you are generating, that energy you will have to store also. So you need an energy storage medium for maintaining power supply during off time. Means at night we all know that we don't have sun, so sunlight is not there. So at night you can't use solar energy in order to for your work. So for that you will need an energy storage device, and for that uh, you can use for that you have to use energy storage devices. There are majorly three type of energy storage devices. One is the thermal energy storage, second is battery storage, third is the pumped storage hydroelectric plant. All right. The fourth one which you will need is the energy conversion plant. The fourth which you will need in it is the energy conversion plant. Thermal energy, which is collected by the solar collector, is used for producing steam, or either hot water or any other thing. All right. Now, the solar energy converted to thermal energy is fed to steam thermal or gas thermal power plant. So, you will need a plant which is basically focused on energy conversion, either to electricity or some other means. Then at 5, you will need some power conditioning, control and protection system. Load requirements of electrical energy vary with time. So therefore, the energy supply has certain specifications like voltage, current, frequency, power, etc. So power conditioning, control, and production system is also required. The power conditioning unit performs several functions such as control, regulation, conditioning, protection, and automation, etc. So this was also an important aspect. So you can see that in any of solar energy plant, you will need a solar collector, energy transport medium, energy storage, energy conversion plant, and power conditioning, control, and protection equipment. So we will discuss on it. Start first of all, whatever is the radiation that is coming onto the earth, whatever is the radiation that is coming onto the earth, all does not enter into the earth's surface. All right, as I have already told you this before also, that holes of the radiations coming does not enter into the earth. The radiations coming from the sun. First of all, there is atmosphere. So there are a lot of gases in the atmosphere, and through those gases, what happens? There are dust particles also. So some of the radiations, though directly strike the Earth's surface, but some of them are reflected by the atmosphere, and some enter into the Earth's surface, but after getting diffused, after getting reflected by the uh, particles available on the atmosphere. So as you can see that in broad sense, we can say that the radiations which directly strike the Earth's surface is known as the direct radiations, but which the radiations which come into the Earth's surface after getting reflected by the dust particle present in the atmosphere, they are known as the diffuse radiation. All right, so direct radiation and the second is the diffuse radiation. There are two types of radiations which enter into the surface of the earth, which enter into the surface of the earth. All right, so diffuse you can understand, like for example, this is your home. So diffuse radiation will be the one which is getting reflected by the earth and getting inside your home. All right, so you can understand by this. So basically, on the surface of the earth, you can either get direct heat from the earth, or it can be by the diffusion from the atmospheric gases or the dust particle present in the atmosphere. Then after, now total radiation, if you calculate what is the total radiation that is coming onto the earth, then we can say that global radiation, total radiation that is coming onto the earth surface is the global radiation. So global radiation will be what? It will be one which is coming directly on the surface of the earth, which is the beam radiations. These are known as direct radiations, students. These are your direct radiations. All right, these are your direct radiations, and they are also known as your beam radiations. So radiations which strike on the surface of the earth directly, they are known as your beam radiation or the direct radiations. All right, and the one which is coming after getting diffused through the atmosphere, after getting reflected by the atmosphere, they are known as your diffuse radiation. So the one which is coming after getting reflected by the atmosphere, that is your diffused radiation. All right, don't get confused. This is your diffused radiation, and the third one which is getting uh, inside your homes, we can say, through the reflection by the Earth's surface. That is the reflected. That is the reflected one. That is the reflected radiations. All right, so these are the three types of radiations. So globally, if I talk about the radiations which come onto the Earth's surface, then that is known as global radiation. And in global radiations, you can have radiations which are acting directly on the Earth, which is known as the direct radiations. Direct radiation is also known as beam radiations, and there can be diffuse radiation. So the sum of the direct radiation and diffuse radiation will give you the value of global radiation. And if I talk about any surface, about a specific surface, and in that we can also include the reflected radiation also. So this is the global radiation, student. Now, how we will calculate this value of global radiation? So the formula, this is the formula RB IB plus RD IDH plus RR IBH plus IDH. This is the formula for calculation of global radiations. And after, in this formula which you are seeing here, this is the formula, student. This is the formula. So in this formula, this is the global radiation formula calculation. IB, this IB stands for tilt factor of beam radiations. Tilt factor, all right. Your sorry, RD stands for tilt factor for diffuse radiations, and RR, this stands for tilt factor for ground reflection. So these are the three factors which are included here. RB, RD, and RR. These are the three factors which are included here. And these is the intensity of radiations, direct radiations, diffuse radiations, and this is the third one. All right. Okay. Then after, students, moving further, Apart from this, there are two more terms which are visible here. You can see that is the IBH and IDH. IBH is the beam radiation on horizontal surface, and IDH is the diffuse radiation on horizontal surface. IBH and IDH. This is the beam radiation on horizontal surface and diffuse radiations on horizontal surface. IBH and IDH. Beam radiation on horizontal surface and diffuse radiations on horizontal surface. So you can see that this is the whole of the expression that is used to calculate the global radiation. These are the three factors, and IBH is the beam radiation on horizontal surface, and IDH is the diffuse radiations on a horizontal surface. All right. Then after, students, one more thing, how you will calculate the factor. So for beam radiation, the factor is cos theta upon cos theta z. The diffused radiation factor is 1 plus cos beta by 2, and the third one is the reflected factor is rho into 1 minus cos beta upon 2, where rho is what? Rho is the ground reflectivity. All right. So the angle which are used here, you should also know the angle in this formula. In this formula, students, in this formula which you are saying, for horizontal surface, your value of beta will be equal to 0. And for horizontal surface, RB, factor for beam radiation, is equal to 1, RD is equal to 1, and RR is equal to 0. Hence, the formula simplifies directly into, hence the simplified formula becomes IGH is equal to IBH plus IDH. IBH is equal to IDH plus IBH. This is the formula. All right. Then after, let's discuss about some of the measuring devices which are used to measure the solar radiations. So the devices which are used to measure the solar radiations are, first is the pyranometer. First is pyranometer. You can see it in our lab also we have. All right, pyranometer. You can see it in our labs also. Pyrheliometer. This is also visible. You can see this also here. Pyrheliometer. All right. So this is, you can see this we have in our lab also, pyranometer. All right. And basically it records the total radiations acting on the surface of the earth. Pyrheliometer, and the third one, either this is the pyranometer one is, and second is the pyrheliometer. The basic difference is that this will give you, this pyranometer will give you the total radiation that is acting on the surface of the earth. But if you are interested in only knowing the beam radiations, means the direct radiations that is acting on the earth's surface, that is coming on the earth's surface, then pyrheliometer is the best one. It is, looks like a telescope. It looks like a telescope. All right, and only the beam radiations enter into it, and therefore you can calculate the value of beam radiations. All right, so this was your pyranometer. Then after, see, as I have already told you, pyranometer can be used to calculate the global radiations, means the total radiations, which includes all types of radiations. Direct radiations also you can calculate from it. Diffuse radiations also you can calculate for it. So this is a very important one. This pyranometer is very important. Why? Because it can measure the direct radiations, global radiations, as well as diffuse radiations. All three can be measured from it. Then comes your, this is the second diagram. This diagram, as you can see, this is the diagram of what? This is the diagram of your, this is basically a schematic diagram of pyranometer. So these are the different parts you can see. Part number let's start from this upper surface here at the top. This is the glass dome, which is denoted by this 2 number. Then after you have thermopile. Thermopile is also there. Thermopile sensor which senses. All right. Then you have this label. Label is also there. And apart from that, you will have a PCB and a labeling feet is also there. Labeling feet. The purpose of labeling feet is that you can label the surface. You can take the your pyranometer horizontal on any surface. So this is the labeling feet. So this is your pyranometer. All right. And then after one more thing, student, uh, there is a shade ring in pyranometer. As you can see in the previous slide, this is the shade ring. You are seeing this inverted saucer type a shade ring. So as you can see, this is the diagram which is showing you the shade ring. In this shade ring, you can see how the shade ring is kept. All right, and then after this is your what? This is your sunshine recorder. This is your sunshine. Different apart from this pyranometer, you also can use sunshine recorder. The plus point with this sunshine recorder is that it will give you the value of number of hours at which you were having the bright sunshine. All right, total number of hours at which you were having the uh, good intensity of solar radiations. All right, so this is the same thing. So in this you can see that there is a glass sphere, there is a glass sphere, and there is a recorder strip. Basically, this recorder is a strip which is fixed here on the whole of this. So this is the recorder. This is the glass sphere. So what happens is whatever radiation that strikes on the this have whatever is the radiation which strikes on this glass sphere, it is reflected and it burns this paper. This is a special type of paper which gets burned, and in this paper there is a scale made on it. And by that scale, we can understand in that scale the time of the day is written. So we can understand that at what time you were having the radiations. All right. So this is your sunshine recorder. Now, to in order to measure the beam radiations, you make the use of pyrheliometer. Exact diagram I have shown to you. Now this is the symbolic diagram which you are seeing. It has one minus point that it will give you only the beam or the direct radiations because its aperture angle is only 5 degree. Aperture angle means this angle. This particular angle is only 5 degree. All right. Therefore, it provides you only beam radiations. All the radiations which directly strikes on it is measured by it. All right. So this is your this is your pyrheliometer. Now moving further, students, these were the different type of instruments. I hope you have understood. One was your pyranometer. All right. Second is your sunshine recorder, and third is your pyranometer. So pyranometer, pyrheliometer, and sunshine recorder. As I have told you, this is the actual diagram of pyranometer. It measures global radiations, direct radiations, and diffuse radiations. And then after there is one pyrheliometer which measures only the diffuse radiations. And the third one is what? Third one is your sunshine recorder. Recorder has a glass sphere like this. All right, and it measures and it gives you the value of total number of sunshine hours in a day. Total number of sunshine hours in a day. It will give you the value of it. All right. So this is the symbolic diagram. Now in exams, when you will have to describe these three types of measuring instruments, what you will do, you will use these diagrams in symbolic diagrams. Actual diagram, it is very difficult to make. So the symbolic diagrams you will make in order to explain the pyranometer, pyrheliometer, and sunshine recorder. Alright, this is the total radiations which is acting on the surface, and this is the method by which we can calculate it. So I hope this is now understood. Now let's students discuss some multiple choice questions based on today's discussion. So starting with our question number 1, this is not question number 11, it is question number 1. This is your question number 1. Alright, so let's read the first question and see what is being asked in this question. So the question is saying you that which of the following is generally used to measure solar radiations. So which of the following is used to measure the solar radiation, direct solar radiation. Now this line is important. Direct solar radiation, this line is particularly important because we all know that different measuring instruments are used to get the knowledge about the different types of solar radiation. For diffuse radiations you have a different measuring instrument, and for direct you have a different measuring instrument. So here among the options, like first of all let's read the options. One is the pyranometer, second is the actinometer, third is the pyrheliometer, and fourth is the IC tester. So we all know that as I have discussed with you in the discussion also, that this particularly if I talk you about this particular pyrheliometer, the radiations captured by it are only the direct radiations, because those radiations which are coming after striking the particles in the atmospheres, it may be gaseous particles, it may be some dust particles, so those radiations, solar radiations which are striking on the earth's surface after which are coming indirectly, they are known as the diffuse radiations, and they are not captured by pyrheliometer. Pyrheliometer only captures the direct radiation. It looks something like a telescope type of. Alright, so here among the options, the correct option is your pyrheliometer. It measures the direct solar radiation, and option C is the correct option. The explanation given here is generally a pyrheliometer is used to measure direct solar radiation. Actinometer are a class of devices that measures intensity of radiation. Alright, IC tester is used to test the ICs. So it is very simple. Now moving into the next multiple choice question, question number 2. Let's read out the question number 2. Question is saying you, what is the main difference between the pyranometer and pyrheliometer? So just we have had discussions right now that your pyranometer, it measures both the direct radiations as well as the diffuse radiation, something like this. It looks like something like this, and it measures both the direct as well as diffuse radiations. It measures direct plus diffused, direct plus diffused. This is measured by what? This is measured by your pyranometer, as we have already discussed before also. And if I talk you about pyrheliometer, so first multiple choice question was based on pyrheliometer, and we have seen that pyrheliometer measures only the direct radiations. It is very simple, and through diagram also I have explained you that a pyrheliometer looks something like a telescope type, in which only the direct radiation can be inserted, get inside. Alright, so the options here are, first, pyranometer and pyrheliometer difference is that both measure solar radiation. So this is not the difference, both measure solar radiation, that is correct. Pyranometer measures global radiations, while pyrheliometer measures direct solar radiations. Now this is correct one, as we have discussed. This particular B option, it is the correct one among these A and B. We will see what are the other options like C and D. C options, let's read out the C option. Pyranometer and pyrheliometer measures global radiations. These both measure the global radiation. Now this option, C option, is not correct because both don't measure the global radiation. So only the pyranometer measures the global radiations. So this is not the correct one. Now D1, what is the D? Pyranometer measures the solar radiations while pyrheliometer measures the global radiation. Just opposite it is written. The correct answer is just opposite of this option D. This means that the only viable option, the only correct option here is the option number B, which says that pyranometer measures global radiations while pyrheliometer measures direct solar radiations. So option B is the correct option, and the explanation is what? The main difference between pyranometer and pyrheliometer is the purpose of measurement. Pyranometer is used to measure global solar radiations, and hence it is used for both visible and ultraviolet. Pyrheliometer is used to measure direct solar radiation. So this was our second multiple choice question. Let's move into the third one. This is our third multiple choice question. And what is the question asking from us? What is the main advantage of sunshine recorder? Main advantage of sunshine recorder. Let's read out the options. Option A, it is more sophisticated than pyranometer and pyrheliometer. Option B, it is more expensive than pyranometer and pyrheliometer. Option C, it is less accurate but inexpensive. Now see, sunshine recorder, it records the number of sunshine hours during the whole day, and it is a very cheap option and gives somewhat less accurate answer. So this C option is the correct one. Let's see what is the D option. It is less accurate but extremely expensive. So A is not the correct one, B is not the correct one, D is also not the correct one. So which is the correct one? C is the correct answer. And the explanation is what? Explanation is the main advantage of a sunshine recorder is that it is inexpensive. Alright, this is the one of the key advantage. However, less accurate. It is less accurate. Also, it is not as sophisticated as pyranometer and pyrheliometers. So C is the only answer which is suiting the advantages of sunshine recorder. Moving into the next multiple choice question, question number 4. The question number 4 is, how does a sunshine recorder work? How does a sunshine recorder work? This is the question, and the options available here are: A, measures the solar irradiance, B, measures the solar radiation, C, measures the number of hours of sunshine, and D is it measures the number of hours of sunshine above a certain threshold. So here it is talking about the sunshine recorder. Alright, how does it work? So as we have discussed that it measures the number of sunshine hours, and among the options C and D are giving you this particular, but in the D option it is also adding one extra line that it is giving you the number of hours of sunshine above a certain threshold. So this is the most appropriate answer among C and D. So D is the correct answer, and the explanation is what? A sunshine recorder works by measuring the number of hours during which sunshine is about a certain threshold. The threshold, what is threshold? It is typically set at 200 milliwatt per centimeter square, and the data collected can be used to determine the solar insolation. So this was your multiple choice question number 4. Let's move into the next one. This is our MCQ number 6. Sorry, MCQ number 5. This is our MCQ number 5. Let's read out the question. Which of the following best describes the process of measurement in a pyrheliometer? So the sequence of measurement in pyrheliometer it is given here. So among all the options, let's read out the first one. First is sunlight, then window in pyrheliometer, then thermopile, then heat converted to electrical signal, and then it is recorded. Alright, so the A option itself is sounding as the correct one. Let's read the other one. B, sunlight, window in pyrheliometer, till here it is correct. Heat is converted to electrical signal. Now this is this step they have written before, because thermopile is the step which should come before this step. So B can't be the correct answer. Let's move into the next C1. Window in pyrheliometer and then sunlight. So here itself in the first two step, step itself, the answer is showing you the wrong one, because first the sunlight should be there. So see, from the first line itself it is sounding wrong. And the D option is sunlight, heat is converted to electrical signal. Now here also after sunlight there should be window in pyrheliometer and then thermopile. So among all the options, A is the correct one, and the explanation is sunlight enters inside the pyrheliometer through a window. This sunlight is directed onto a thermopile, which then converts into an electrical signal, and this electrical signal can be recorded. So this was your multiple choice question number 5. Now let's move into the next question, question number 6. Now this is our question number 6. Question number 6 is asking you, which of the following categories does a pyranometer belong to? So in which category we should keep pyranometer? Options are: A is voltmeters, B is actinometers, C is Hall sensors, and D is amplifiers. So while discussing our multiple choice question number 1, I have told you this thing, that actinometers can be considered as similar to pyranometer. So we can say that B option is the correct one. B option is the correct one, and the explanation is what? A pyranometer belongs to the category of actinometer because it is used for measuring the solar irradiance. Voltmeters are used, we all know, to measure the potential difference, and Hall sensors are used to measure the current via magnetic field. Amplifiers are used to amplify current or voltage. Alright, so you can see that only one among the 4 options is used for the purpose for which pyranometer is also used. So B is the correct option. Let's move into multiple choice question number 7. This is our MCQ 7. Let's read out the question. Global and diffuse radiations can be measured by. So global and diffuse radiations, how we can measure the diffuse and global radiations? In the options, let's see. First is the actinometer, thermal actinometer. B is the heat pump. C is the thermoelectric pyranometer, and D is the oscilloscope. So we all know that actinometer is used, but not the thermal actinometer, but C, which is the thermoelectric pyranometer, it is used, as in the discussion also we have seen, this thermoelectric pyranometer, this is used for this purpose. Alright. So the next one is what? In all the options, C is the correct option. Explanation is that global and diffuse solar radiations can be measured by thermoelectric pyranometer. Heat pumps are used in thermal systems to pump heat from a cooler region to a hot region. Oscilloscope can be used to observe sinusoidal output. So this was our question number 7. Let's move into the question number 8. Which portion of the solar spectrum can a photodiode based pyranometer detect? So options are A 100 to 200 nanometer, 1 to 10 micrometer, 100 to 200 nanometer, 400 to 900 nanometer. So we all know that a portion of solar spectrum that a photodiode based pyrometer detect is 400 to 900 nanometer. So answer is your answer number D, and the explanation is that photodiode based pyrometer detects the portion of solar spectrum between 400 to 900 nanometer. The best ones detect between 350 to 1100 nanometer. Since it uses silicon technology, photodiode based pyrometers are also called as silicon pyrometers. Alright, so in this way 8th MCQ is also completed. Let's switch to 9th MCQ. Let's first of all read out the question. Photodiode works on the principle of dash, and the options are: A is photoelectric effect, B LED, C thermocouple, and D differential resistance. So among the options, you can see, students, that among the options, photodiode, we all know that it works on the principle of photoelectric effect. So answer is your option A itself. And the explanation is what? Explanation is photodiode works on the principle of photoelectric effect. Photoelectrical effect is the emission of electrons when electromagnetic radiation hits the surface of a material, generally a metal. So 9th question we have completed. Now let's switch into the 10th multiple choice question. Let's read out the question. What does the net radiometer measure? What does the net radiometer measure? And the options are: measures the incoming solar radiation, B measures the difference between incoming and outgoing radiations, C measures the sum of incoming and outgoing radiations, and D is it measures the outgoing solar radiations. Now among all the four options, you can see that the main difference between incoming this net radiometer measures is your difference between the incoming and the outgoing radiation. So among all the options, option B is the correct one, and the explanation is what? As the name suggests, our net radiometer measures the difference between incoming and outgoing radiation. Hence it is used to the net radiation at the Earth's surface. Alright, so therefore net radiometer is used to find the difference between incoming and outgoing radiations. So students, in this way we have completed the 10 MCQs related with the discussed topic of today's lecture, that was your solar measuring devices. Alright, in this pyrheliometer we have discussed, then a sunshine recorder also we have discussed, then actinometer we have little bit discussed about actinometer also, and these all are very important instruments which are used to measure the solar radiations. Alright, and if I talk you about the sunshine recorder, let's have a quick revision of whatever we have studied. This sunshine recorder, it is basically used for what purpose? It is used to measure the sunshine hours within a whole of the day. For example, since at the morning when sun rises, so you get bright sunshine starting from 9 AM at the morning. So from that time to evening at 6 PM, whatever is the duration or the time at which you are getting the bright sunshine, that can be used for your purpose, that is shown by the strip, by that piece of strip which is inserted in that portion. The diagram I have already explained you. In the diagram I have told you that basically there is a spherical ball, transparent spherical ball, and you have a strip like this here, and in this you have a arrangement like this here, and in this arrangement, students, you fix the strip from one side to the other, and when the sun's rays strike it, what happens? These rays, they fall on this piece of strip, and as the position of the sun changes, as the position of the sun changes. So in the same manner, it burns the different portions. It burns the different portion of this piece of paper. All right. Now this was your sunshine recorder. Then after I told you about the pyranometer. In pyranometer I had already told you that both direct radiations as well as diffuse radiations, both can be easily measured. Both, a combination of both, which is known as the global radiations, that is measured by this pyranometer. Global radiation is what? It is the combination of direct radiation as well as the diffuse radiations. Then after we came across the pyrheliometer. In pyrheliometer, what was the system? Pyrheliometer was very similar to your telescope. It resembled the telescope, in fact, I would say. And how it looked something like this. And radiations entered only your direct radiations. There was no passage for the diffuse radiations. Its aperture area from where the radiations entered, that aperture area was made small so that only the direct radiations can be inserted on it. Alright, so this was all we have discussed today. Now students, you can also if you want to have self-study also of this particular topic which I have discussed with you, so for that you can refer the reference books also, which I have also referred for making this video lecture. And these reference books are given here in the screen also. Your first one is Non-Conventional Energy Sources by G.D. Rai, Khanna publication book. It is a good book. Then you have a R.K. Rajput book, it named as Non-Conventional Energy Sources and Utilization. It is also a book by S. Chand publication. Then you have a Renewable Energy Sources book, foreign writer book. You have its writer is Tweedale and Wire. And then you have Non-Conventional Energy Sources written by B.H. Khan, and it is a Tata McGraw-Hill publication book. So these are all good books. You can refer any of the book from these given here. So for today it's enough, students. Thank you, students. Thank you and have a nice day.